Amulet Bloom is into the final. Splinter Twin will be in the final, but who will be piloting it? Let's find out. Hello everyone and welcome to our second semi-final, coming to you live from Washington DC here at Pro Tour Fate Reforged. Rich Hagan, Louis Scott Vargas and Brian David Marshall with you in the booth as we get ready to see this man, Jelger Wiegersma of the Netherlands, a Hall of Famer, with his Blue-Red Splinter Twin deck against his opponent Antonio del Mmoral Leon of Spain, also on a Blue-Red Splinter Twin deck. Brian David Marshall, what can we expect out of semi-final 2?
So double infinite fairies.
I actually am predicting not as many infinite fairies as you might think, just because the way this matchup tends to play out is that if you go for it and you fail, if your opponent is able to stop you, you often are on the receiving end of either their combo or them just two-for-1ing you a few times.
So each player being scared to pull the trigger because it basically means their gate is down and their opponent can come rushing through with a well-timed lightning bolt or cryptic command or something along those lines.
Right, and both players are very willing and ready to win with just the value plan, just because that's so much safer. You just never tap out, especially when you sided more counterspells after board. So you certainly can combo if you end up in a spot where you do have to tap out or you just start missing land drops. Then your opponent might be able to go like end of turn Deceiver or Pester might tap one of your lands, win a counter war, untap combo. But a lot of the games are just going to be decided by attacking with Snapcaster Mage, Vendilion Click, or Deceiver Exarch.
Now I know you love a deck like the Amulet deck and trying to find all these lines in that are coming at you from unexpected directions. But how do you feel about watching a match between two players playing this kind of like combo control kind of deck?
Well, this is just another thing I really enjoy, which is watching just two blue decks battle it out with kind of like old school Magic, where whoever uses their mana more efficiently and whoever uses their card draw more efficiently ends up winning the game. So there's a lot of interesting counterplay here, and it's even made even more interesting by the fact that both players have an infinite combo that could just win the game on the spot. So it's not like tap out control matchups where you can tap out and if it gets countered, you do it again next turn. Here, if you tap out, you could just lose.
Would you compare this to like the old Tog Mirror in any way?
It's similar. I mean, Splinter Twin, Exarch, Upheaval Tog are both, kind of parallel combos. But in general, I think that you're able to kind of win the game very easily here. So
we see a Deceiver Exarch attempted by Antonio, and it gets met with Mana Leak. Looks like Jelger is scrapping for his third and fourth lands at this point.
Yeah, Antonio went on the Upkeep Deceiver plan, which is kind of aggressive, but it stops Jelger from playing any 3-drops. It stops Jelger. Jelger has to have a Mana Leak or a Remand right away.
Doing it again.
Jelger's hand is beyond abysmal here. It's just, all it is Blood Moons, and that's really not where you want to be in the mirror.
So Deceiver Exarch is in play for Antonio del Mmoral Leon. That's part 1 of the 2-step combo. If Deceiver Exarch ever meets its pal Splinter Twin, that's pretty much game over. Wiegersma has Splinter Twin in hand, and Splinter Twin in hand, and Splinter Twin in hand, but that is still infinity less 3, the number of hasty creatures that can be applied by Antonio del Mmoral Leon if he can find a copy for 2 red.
It looks like he's dealing with Bolt, a couple of Spell Snares, and a Lighthouse, and whatever card he drew this turn.
And so Jelger was dead to a Splinter Twin there, and he wasn't, I'm sure, not very happy about it. But Antonio doesn't have much going on either. If Jelger draws a Deceiver Exarch, he actually could be in okay shape, because Antonio has a bunch of Spell Snares and one Lightning Bolt, which is not really good enough to stop the combo.
Is Desolate Lighthouse going to be like the kind of card that gives you a little bit of an edge in this matchup?
Desolate Lighthouse is quite good. Jelger, of course, on his Blood Moon plan, does not have anything like that, and we found it good enough that, well, first of all, Jelger's playing a Blood Moon to try to shut it down. And it looks like it is going to be successful. Second of all, Shuhei Nakamura and Alexander Hayden played Blue-Red Control, and they played Desolate Lighthouse in their Blue-Red Control deck. They just thought the ability was just very good.
Oh, and there it is.
Twin. Well, that's going to be a fast game 1.
So let's cue up those sideboard videos for game 2. Wow. Jelger starts
There you
scooping up
go.
the cards.
That is all she wrote.
And I wonder who's more happy about that, Antonio or Justin, since the guy with the blood moons is now down a game.
That is just terrifying. We'll be right back after these short messages.
You've watched the Pro Tour. How about playing on the Pro Tour? Qualifiers for Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir are going on until February 22nd, with winners earning an invitation and airfare to Brussels in April. Visit magic.wizards.com/PTQ for more information. Hunt bigger game by playing in a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix include Seville, Memphis, Vancouver, Miami, Liverpool, Cleveland, and Auckland. Visit magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix for the complete schedule.
Oh no, that's right. We've already had game one. Where did that happen? Well, the answer is it's Splinter Twin. You can blink and you can miss it. Deceiver Exarch from Antonio del Mmoral Leon into Splinter Twin. That's the infinite combo that guarantees the game, and the Spaniard leads 1-0. So now, in a mirror that we didn't see an awful lot of action, really, we now get to see what the players do for game 2 and perhaps down the track for game 3. Here's Jelger Wiegersma's sideboard. He's got one Vendilion Click, the 3/1 Flash Flyer, big 6/6 Wormcoil Engine, hatful of Ancient Grudges, couple of Anger of the Gods, which have been huge for him already today, double Batterskull, Singleton Blood Moon in the board. That's because, as we've seen, he's got some main deck. 2 Dispel, and then Singletons the rest of the way with Engineered Explosives, Nature's Claim, and Vidalcan Shackles. Brian David Marshall, what do you got for us?
He's going to bring in 2 not Blood Moons. That's the first thing he's doing, is he's getting those Blood Moons the hell out of his main deck. Luis, I defer to you here, but I assume the control-y cards, the Vendilion Click, the Dispels, maybe even the Shackles?
Yeah, Shackles is not bad in the mirror. If you have it untapped, it at the very least disrupts their plan. They can still tap it down with an Exarch. You take the Exarch, then they play another one or something along those lines. But in general, Shackles is a pretty good card to have, especially since the post-board games get a little bit slower because you've got more cards like Dispel, which can help protect and or prevent the combo. So I would imagine Jelger doesn't go so far as to bring in like Wormcoil or Batterskull. I mean, I could see Batterskull actually make an appearance, but certainly the Vendilion Clicks and the Dispels and the Shackles. Ancient Grudge may actually be a card he wants as well, because Antonio does have Spellskites, and Spellskites are generally decent because they stop the combo as well.
So that is Jelger Wiegersma looking at his options with Splinter Twin. On the other side of the table, let's see how different the choices are there. Well, there are some very different cards here for Antonio del Mmoral Leon. He has 2 Keranos, God of Storms. We go back to Theros block for that. A Singleton Jace, Architect of Thought, a couple of Spellskite, 1 Ancient Grudge, 1 Anger, 2 Blood Moon, a Dispel. Those are similar. Then he's got a single Flame Slash, which Jelger doesn't. Negate, Pyroclasm, Shatterstorm, and taking a leaf out of Sean McLaren's book, perhaps, Threads of Disloyalty. So again, Luis, a somewhat different looking sideboard, but what are the plans again for the mirror?
Again, I mean, you don't mind cards that are good in a longer game. Like, first of all, the counters are good, Dispel and Negate. Keranos and Jace are good with card advantage engines. You will see maybe more sorcery speed tapping out sort of things in this matchup. I don't know if you want to go too overboard on those effects because you don't want to be stuck being too vulnerable to the combo. But if both players have more ways to fight the combo than Nature's Claim or Negate and that sort of thing, especially like Spellskite means you can kind of be safe by tapping out. You are able to play for a longer game. So. Yeah, and once again, Blood Moon, not the card you want against the other Blood Moon deck.
So traditionally in Magic, we have the idea of who's the beatdown. Someone is trying to actively win the game and be ahead and then close the game out. And someone is, in a way, trying to actively not lose it until the point where they can become the beatdown and go and lock it up. And that's the classic sort of aggro versus control matchup. But here, are we in a world where it is just dependent on what you draw, whether you're trying to maneuver towards going for it, or is that what both players actually want to avoid, not be in a position where the cards they're looking at kind of force them into trying things, because at the point at which it goes wrong, that's the end, because your opponent goes, well, actually, I've got the counter for that, and now you're vulnerable, kill you.
Yeah, neither player wants to be the first to tap out. I mean, you saw Jelger. I mean, his hand was so bad he kind of had to. But neither player really wants to go for it. Antonio has an extra land and an extra Vendilion Click. Those are both huge. So I think he has maybe a slight edge. Also, Dustlet Lighthouse becomes very, very good, especially if Jelger, is kind of forced to take out Blood Moon because it's just so mediocre otherwise. That neither player is particularly the beatdown or control. They want to just be in a position where they have lands, counters, and good things to do without having to resort to tapping out.
So in that sense, are we likely to see an early game where there's not a lot happening as really lands just build up? BDM.
Well, I was curious. Are we going to see someone, side out the combo at all?
Ooh.
Or just decide to, or like shave the numbers on the Splinter Twins and just become more of that kind of like aggro control deck?
It's very reasonable to not play the full 4 Splinter Twin. The instant speed creatures, I think, are still good enough. But if your plan is to not jam it on turn 4, then you don't really want to draw 3 Splinter Twins in a game, especially if you expect the game to go long.
As you can see, Antonio Mmoral Leon did not like his opening grip of 7, so he will go down to 6. The way you're drawing it up, Luis, it sounds like because of that slight edge to Leon with, like you say, the extra land, extra Vendilion Click and so on, Jelger is obviously aware of that. Maybe he will feel obliged, if possible, to take on a slightly more aggressive role.
I don't think he's going to feel that way.
Right.
I mean, he is playing against Jelger. Jelger's a Hall of Famer. Jelger, has played many thousands of hours of Blue Mirrors, so I could see that being a consideration. But and Antonio has played quite well so far. So I imagine he's just going to play his game the way he's been playing the whole time. And he's played a lot of Splinter Twins, so I think he understands how the mirror works. He doesn't need to do anything particularly special. You just kind of got to play your cards.
So let's see what cards he has. You are looking at Jelger Wiegersma's hand there. Let's see. And we are just about to get away. And it is a single land for Antonio Mmoral Leon. So we're away with Misty Rainforest. And I will use my Serum Vision to have a look and see if I can find. There were certainly some lands in the immediate future there, so that's worked out nicely for Antonio as he tries to work his way out of that 6-card opening hand.
Yeah, and I certainly would have kept that one-lander, not just because I like keeping one-landers, because on 6 cards with the Serum Visions on the draw, you're going to see a lot of cards.
Right.
And here you saw, Antonio missed on his draw step, missed on the Serum Visions draw, but then sees 2 lands off the scry and keeps them both. So he's in okay. He actually might be in better shape for lands than Jelger. Jelger right now is getting a Steam Vents end of turn, and it looks like he's got a Scalding Tarn in hand, but it doesn't look like he necessarily has more lands past that.
No, he's got Mana Leak up. There you see Wiegersma's cards in hand. Splinter Twin at the ready, lots of blue cards, plenty of permission. Snare, Leak, Remand.
Yeah, pretty brutal. Jelger just missing his 3rd land drop here.
Right.
And so now, even though Antonio would maybe be considering playing Snapcaster and Serum Visions here, I think you don't really want to give your opponent a chance to use a Remand for value. And then I think he's going to play one of his creatures on upkeep. Jelger's not super unhappy with that because Jelger does get a chance to cycle Remand, gives him, essentially 2 draws to hit a land here.
Let's take a look at the hand that Antonio is working with.
Well, all of one combo piece. None of the other. Here we go. Deceiver Exarch. So Jelger now is going to fetch the land. You notice he didn't crack it earlier, so to give him more chance, just a little bit, tiny edge of getting that extra land when he wanted a 3rd land. Didn't work out, but it's still the right play where possible. But now, yes, I need a 2nd land, and I'm going to need to take some pain here because I'm going to use my 2 mana on your Deceiver Exarch. So that has been remanded back to hand. Jelger gets to see a little deeper into his library.
It looks like he has not found a land
no,
yet. He's
he
going to
has
have to
not.
discard here, I think. Oh. Ancient Grudge may lend itself to being discarded. Looks like he doesn't even want to show that so far.
How close is Jelger to absolutely needing a land off the top?
you really can't miss too many more times and have a shot at this game, because even though Antonio does not have the combo, Antonio's not missing land drops. I mean, I guess he's gonna miss one this turn, but he has his own, he has his own stuff going on here. He's using Serum Visions. He has a Snapcaster in play. It's gonna get progressively worse for Jelger, because we know that Antonio's playing a land next turn. Of course, Jelger is playing a land this turn, which is nice for him.
Good stuff. So there's land number 3.
Jelger could take this time to resolve either click or potentially, actually, I guess it's just click is the main card, but it looks like he's going to chance to wait. He's got a lot of counter magic in his hand, so he doesn't mind playing at instant speed here.
And the clock is very small at the moment. It's a Snapcaster Mage, so there's 8 turns worth of Snapcaster to go on at the moment.
Yeah, the incidental damage does matter, but yeah, Jelger can take a couple hits off Snapcaster and not feel too badly about it.
But at the same time, players feel that the game is going to come down to somebody winning, because you see them playing their Steam Vents up whenever possible.
Yeah, so far Steam Vents has dealt more damage than anything else this game.
So here is the Vendilion Click that you mentioned, Luis. 3/1 Flash Flyer. And
Jelger could click himself here, or is he always going to? Yeah, he's going to look at.
He's not always going to look at his opponent's hand, but the first time I would be very surprised if he didn't. Just the information alone is actually pretty valuable, since so much of this matchup is played, with situational cards at instant speed. Of course, Antonio, I believe, left Electrolyze on top of Serum Visions. I believe I saw that as the second card.
Yes, it was.
Which gives him a really good play this turn. If Jelger does, in fact, choose to take one of the Deceivers, since I don't think he would take Spell Snare or Ancient Grudge. He might take Dispel as well, but if Jelger does take something, Antonio draws Electrolyze, I would expect him to just Electrolyze on his own end step here, kill the Vendilion Click, deal 1 to Jelger, and again, just get a good advantage out of the turn.
Now, Jelger knows there's a card on top.
He does. He doesn't know what it is, of course, but he knows that. I mean, you could assume that it's Splinter Twin. That would be a very natural assumption here with Dispel and a bunch of Deceiver Exarchs. I don't think you can guess that it's one of the 2 Electrolyzes Antonio has access to.
also, are you not almost obliged to imagine that it's Splinter Twin?
Well, it looks like Jelger chooses to take no cards, which
yeah, that's what I was wondering about there.
Yeah.
Is he gonna say just sit on those and draw your card when you were gonna draw it?
Oh, one Deceiver is not incredibly different from multiple, so I'm not. It doesn't surprise me too much that Jelger was all right with that. And it looks like Antonio boarded out every single one of the Splinter Twins, which, if Jelger knew about that, would be actually huge, since it would completely change the way Jelger would have to play. But he of course does not have that information. Also, Antonio did not board in the Spells Guide, so Jelger's Ancient Grid doesn't do anything either. This could be really profitable sideboarding for Antonio.
So Mana Leak on Deceiver Exarch on upkeep, and then the Mana Leak gets Spell Snared.
And is Jelger going to argue about that? He is.
And this is an exchange that Jelger knew exactly what was going to happen. Antonio didn't know exactly what Jelger had, but I doubt that any of this surprises him in the least. Still think this is quite good for Antonio, because if his top card is indeed Electrolyzed, then he has the way is clear.
Yep, it is.
He may have to be worried about a second Dispel, because Jelger does have access to 2 of them, but it would have to just literally be Dispel. Antonio could also figure he could just play Deceiver and keep racing, so he's...
Wow, that was a nice draw.
Yeah, Cryptic Command is generally pretty good.
So another Exarch comes down.
And Jelger knows about the Dispel in Antonio's hand right now, so that would make him a little less excited about tapping out to either to Cryptic or to cast Snapcaster. Though casting Snapcaster is not so bad. At least put something on the board so you're not, completely losing out on the exchange. You do have to get through that Dispel at some point. Jelger's Splinter Twin not really reaping too many benefits. He left in 3 of the Splinter Twins. I'm sure Jelger wishes he could trade that Ancient Grudge in hand for the Snapcaster he discarded earlier, but...
So back we go to the Spaniard, 12 life apiece.
So he played Exarch, but he didn't actually... Did he not tap any of Jelger's... It looks like he tapped the click.
He tapped the Vendilion click, yeah.
Jelger is okay with this, though. This is not a particularly profitable exchange. Now Antonio's added Dispel to his hand. He's going to be able to ride this kind of control game to victory, it looks like. I mean, Jelger's going to have to start getting cards off the board here.
Well, there's a Shackles.
Shackles is a card, but...
not as good without the twin combo in play?
No, and Antonio... Well, it's actually better without the twin combo in play because it really shuts down the beatdown plan, but Antonio has Ancient Grudge in hand, and Jelger still does know about that.
So here we go with more Deceiver Exarchness.
Yeah, this is...
That's triple Exarch.
Yeah, this is going downhill pretty fast for Jelger. He's got no cards that are really interacting all that well with Deceivers either. I mean, he can cast a Shackles. He knows it's going to get grudged. He can cast a Cryptic. He knows it'll get dispelled.
This is starting to look like a routine 2-0 victory for the Spaniard.
Oh yeah, these games have not been particularly close.
Oh, over the Hall of Famer from the Netherlands, Jelger Wiegersma.
So attempts the Cryptic command, knowing he's going to draw out the Dispel, and he does.
And I think Antonio's happy to use Dispel there because Jelger does not know about the negate, so he's hoping Jelger will walk into that.
In we come, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jelger Wiegersma down to 5, and the Spaniard has all the answers. It seems. Electrolyze. Off goes the Vendilion click. Shoot you. Draw a card.
Looks like another Dispel.
Utterly brutal. We are moments away from a rampant 2-0 victory for the Spaniard, the 20-year-old Antonio del Mmoral Leon. Can Jelger do anything here?
He doesn't really have a good way. I mean, he's at 4, and these 1/4s are just going to peck him to death. I mean, there's no one card that really answers them. And given that Antonio's hand is Remand, Negate, Dispel, Spell Snare, right. If he ever gets to untap, then...
Given nothing in Antonio's hand, he could bolt a Deceiver, Snapcaster Mage, the bolt it again, block the Snapcaster Mage, and still then have a Deceiver Exarch that is going to take him out in 3 more
I mean,
turns.
that's a start, and that probably is where Jelger needs to go with this turn. I mean, that seems like one of the more reasonable lines, because the Shackles is blanked because he knows about the Ancient Grudge. The Ancient Grudge, just has no targets. The Splinter Twin in his hand is just not remotely close to doing anything because he doesn't have anything in play. So I don't really know what other plausible lines Jelger has. I mean, he could Snapcaster to cast Sleight of Hand, and maybe if he's got a Flame Slash lurking around, but that doesn't seem particularly great either. Yeah.
Yep. So we bolt an Exarch. Here comes Snapcaster Mage, exactly as BDM and Luis lined it up out of the graveyard. Lightning Bolt comes back. Away goes one Deceiver Exarch. Now Jelger apparently has a blocker. A potential trade for a Snapcaster.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
Because now it's just in for 1 with Deceiver Exarch. Leon passes the turn. Jelger is down to 3. Another Snapcaster.
Yeah, I mean, Snapcaster Mage isn't generally that bad of a card, but Jelger really can't resolve much more this game just because of all the counter wall that he's facing down. And he is, as he's been the entire match, pretty tight on mana. So if he leads with Snapcaster, it looks like he's considering the Shackles. If he leads with Snapcaster, I guess he knows... I mean, he doesn't know anything really much more than the Ancient Grudge, and he knows he does have Spell Snare for the Ancient Grudge, which currently can't be flashed back, so Jelger may be okay with that. But if you're Antonio, I think you're pretty happy just letting that resolve, casting Grudge end of turn. Jelger Spell Snares, then I guess he's just going to Remand because it costs so much mana. Either way, you're going to draw out the Spell Snare. I would almost rather gotten the Grudge Spell Snared, but I guess it doesn't matter too much.
There you go. Spell Snare on the Remand.
Yeah, here I definitely like letting the Spell Snare happen and then just grudging the Shackles.
He's going to Dispel it. He wants to draw a
The
card
thing is,
here.
the Ancient Grudge in your hand is so much less valuable than the the dispel. Well, one advantage to doing this though is that Jelger now ends up with shackles in hand and may be tempted to tap out for it again.
There's the handshake. And Antonio del Mmoral Leon of Spain is into the Pro Tour final with Blue-Red Splinter Twin, and our final is set. It will be Justin Cohen with Amulet Bloom against Antonio del Mmoral Leon of Spain with Blue-Red Splinter Twin. Goodness me. Well, that was just a beating. I guess sometimes mirrors can happen like that, Luis.
Yeah, I mean, Jelger didn't play a land on turn 3 in this game and didn't play a land on turn 4 of the prior game, and this is not the matchup where you can afford to miss land drops. That's one of the most important parts about the matchup is hitting your land drops.
Well, lands are going to be huge in the final. Will it be Amulet? Will it be Twin? We will find out. Don't you dare go away. We'll be back in just a few, but we're going to hand you back to the news desk for more good stuff with Marshall and the team.
Hey there, welcome back to the news desk. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I've got Randy Buehler and Ian Duke with me here. Let's take a quick look at our bracket to set the stage for what's going to be our finals here from Pro Tour Fate Reforged. You can see that in our semifinals, we had Justin Cohen defeating Jesse Hampton to take his seat in the finals in his very first Pro Tour. And on the bottom, Antonio del Mmoral Leon just defeated Jelger Wiegersma in 2 actually quite quick matches, gentlemen. Any quick impressions off of that?
Surprisingly quick.
Very quick.
Yeah. I mean, the cards were there, and I mean, there just weren't enough turns for Jelger to really maneuver much. It just didn't have the tools he needed to work with.
One thing that both of you pointed out were the presence of the 2 main deck Blood Moons.
Yeah, that
for
first
Jelger.
game was a rough draw for Jelger. Yeah. I mean, early in the game, he was stuck on 2 lands. He had double Blood Moon, both of his main deck Blood Moons, and 3 Splinter Twins in his hand. Not much to maneuver there, and we just saw he got run over, basically.
Now, it is worth noticing on the Blood Moon front. I know that we said, Justin Cohen doesn't want to face Jelger because of the Blood Moons. Antonio does have 2 Blood Moons of his own. It's just that they're in the sideboard.
I see.
Jelger had 2 main, 1 in the board. Antonio has 0 main, 2 in the board. So Blood Moon may still come into play in the finals. It's just, if you had to pick, you don't want to face the guy with 2 in the main deck.
Right, totally. Now, Randy, I actually wanted to take a minute here and chat with you about winning your first Pro Tour that you made it to. So you did that.
I did. It hasn't been done very often, and this is something that Justin has a chance here. It's the first Pro Tour he's ever played. Showing up and then just straight winning the first Pro you've ever played. Mike Lecanto did it. That was Pro Tour number 1 ever, right? Obviously, whoever won that was going to do it.
Right.
Ularada did it. Pro Tour 3 in Columbus. I did pull it off in '97 at Chicago. I know Farid Merengi did it, a Parisian player from a couple years after me, and. Off the top of my head, it's not like I keep a list of how many people have done this. I'm probably forgetting somebody. Oh, Julian Naughton. I just got it over the chat here. Julian Naughton pulled it off, even, right? And that was Worlds, exactly. Julian Naughton has done it. So it's been done maybe 5-ish times. Maybe there's a 6th out there that I'm just not top of mind.
Incredibly rare.
But yeah, it's been done maybe 5 times. And how many Pro Tours have there been? 100?
You're right. So for you doing it, talk us through some of the whirlwind that it was for you when you made the top 8. Were you kind of blindsided? Did you expect to do well? What happened as you proceeded towards your victory?
So my goal coming into that event was top 32, because that was what you needed at the time to qualify for the next Pro Tour. So it's like, I won my PTQ, I'm gonna bust my ass in play testing, I'm gonna do everything I can to put into this and find out, can I compete on this level? And I'd seen some of the Pro Tour regulars at local PTQs, and I'd been to a couple of Grand Prix at that point. So, but I just wanted to say, all right, I'm gonna see what I can do, and I really want top 32. So it's like anything beyond that was sort of found money almost, and it was just, the key for me in the top 8 was just not to think about any of it. It was just, I'm playing Magic. I know my deck inside and out. I basically knew my opponent's decks, and it was just block it all out, right? Focus on the game of Magic. I've got a deck of cards, he's got a deck of cards, and just don't look at any of the stuff that's going on outside. That was the key for me. I actually found, quite frankly, it was harder in future Pro Tours, where now there's that expectation. There's, this guy's won a Pro Tour, now he's playing for top 8. Those matches I felt had more pressure than the first one, because the first one I was just, there were no expectations, and I was able to just ignore any of the ramifications.
You were able to do that. That must have been very difficult.
That's what you have to do.
Was it like it? It wasn't like how it is now.
I mean,
though,
it was filmed. It was the broadcast wasn't being sent live. Oh, sorry, the audio was going out live over the internet at that time. This is 1997, right? This is almost 20 years ago. The audio would go out live over the internet. There was closed circuit TV inside the hall, and that that video was then posted after the fact. So I did get to go back and sort of watch the commentators.
Do you have like a super worn out VHS tape at home of your win somewhere? I want to see this now.
It's fun. The finals too, like when I actually won it, I didn't think I was winning. Because what happened in the finals, it's game 4. I'm up 2-1, and I think I had the deck matchup advantage, but my opponent, David Mills, had played a Dwarven Miner, which is a creature that can kill any non-basic land. I'm playing a Necropotence deck with fetch lands to go get dual lands. So I have like, I think 8 basic swamps in the deck, but I really only need 3-4 mana to operate. I only have 2 swamps. So I'm just summoning Pump Knights, right? I'm just summoning the 2 mana creatures I can. I'm just turning them sideways, and in my head I'm like, did I sideboard wrong? Like, did I need to bring in terrors to kill Dwarven Miner? And I'm just thinking about how to sideboard for game 5, and he has kind of mana flooded, so these Pump Knights keep getting through, and on the crucial turn, he takes a hit down to 4. And I'm looking at him like, all right, well, I have a Lake of the Dead in my hand, and I have a Drain Life in my hand. And on turn 3, I had the option, tap a swamp, play Lake of the Dead. You have to sacrifice the swamp when that comes into play, but then what the lake does is it allows you to sacrifice future swamps for 4 mana.
Each.
So swamp, Lake of the Dead, sack your other swamp. That's 4 mana. That's enough to cast Drain Life for 4. And I could have done that to the Dwarven Miner, but if he has a Force of Will, he just untaps, miners the lake, and I have no land whatsoever. So in my head, just like, I'm not gonna bet my entire game on him not having a Force of Will. I'll just play with my 2 basic swamps, the Dwarven Miner can sit there and do nothing. Then it gets to the end of the game, and he's about ready to kill me. So I'm like, all right, I'll go through the motions. Here's Drain Life for 4. Show me the Force of Will.
And not only did you think he had it the whole time, but he's had that many more turns to draw it now.
It's been like 5, 6, 7 turns, and he's been taking this damage, and he's literally stammers like, that works? Like, he hadn't done the Lake of the Dead math. He didn't realize 4 was a magic number, because I have Lightning Bolts in my deck, so he knew not to go to 3, but he didn't realize I could generate 6 mana from 2, and I did not have the Force of Will. He had a Pyroblast, he had a Hydroblast from my Lightning Bolts. He had a Hydroblast, but no Force of Will, and I'm just like, oh my god, I just won the Pro Tour.
You just won the Pro Tour.
Yeah, no, I was in my head ready
Incredible
for game 5. I was
stuff.
like, oh wow. That video's on YouTube. You can just kind of see this look of what?
I'm gonna find
You don't
that
have
video.
a Force of Will? What are you? Oh my, yeah.
That's insane. Dirk Baborowski.
Dirk Baborowski, I
Also
think, has
Merkel.
done that. Sure.
Yeah, so those are a couple of other
Jan Moritz
names.
Merkel, so we're up to like 7.
Yeah, it's a short company, and maybe could be
And
one
that's
more.
3 Hall of Famers on that list so far.
That's true. It's not a bad way to start your career.
It's pretty good.
All right, so why don't we take a look now. Again, I want to zoom back a little bit. We've got a few minutes before our final actually starts here. The players are, taking a minute to gather themselves, and then they'll be sitting down. So let's take a look at a little bit of a zoomed out perspective on the tournament. Let's take a look at the top 10 North Americans. We're going to kind of go by region of the world here and take a look. Wow.
Pretty good tournament for North America.
Not a bad one for North America there. You see 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th represented from the North Americans, and looking down the line, still very, very high finishes from North Americans, though that's not super surprising as we're in North America, and also, the majority of Magic players are from North America as well, but still super strong finish from the North Americans this time.
Yeah, so right at the start there, we have Eric Froelich making his 4th Pro Tour top 8. Again, in the conversation for Hall of Fame now. I'm sure he's super pleased to have done that. Didn't make it past the quarterfinals, but you have always got to be happy when you get another top 8 under your belt there. Seth Manfield, 3-time GP winner, I believe, adds a Pro Tour top 8 to his resume here.
You are correct, by the way, 3 times.
With the burn deck, we saw him play fantastically all weekend through, through a lot of opposition, bolting himself with Leyline of Sanctity in play, really just, clawing for every win he could get. That was fantastic. And, Justin Cohen here with the Amulet deck that we've seen. Jacob Wilson, another top 8. I think this is, 3 modern Pro Tour top 8s for him? Is that right?
Two modern top 8s.
Two modern, yeah. But, just a fantastic master of the format, absolutely. And then Jesse Hampton with
How about
the
number
Hobbs on
10?
deck.
How about 10th place?
That would be Johnny Magic himself, John Finkel, just, quietly sliding in there. We saw him a couple times in the feature match playing the Channel Fireball Pantheon Infect deck. Of course, none of the Infect decks made it to the top 8, but 10th place for John. Fantastic finish for him, and just, what a career this guy has had.
Yeah, I saw him this morning, and he was rewinding one of the matches. It was a feature match that he played where he lost, where I think he thinks he made the right play, but there was a line of play available that would have worked out.
Yeah, I heard the Pantheon guys talking
probably
about
wasn't
that
the right play.
afterwards,
Do you remember that? I didn't quite catch the details.
Yeah, so it had to do with Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it had to do with playing around Sam Black's one-of Slaughter pack that he had in his deck, I believe, which, you know, John didn't know Sam had it in his hand. Sam only has one in the deck. He had naturally drawn it there, and what John needed to do was basically play Apostle's Blessing before attacking, and then he had some options, you know, depending if Sam responded with the Slaughter Pact or not.
There's a lot of play to that deck as well. Why don't we take a look at Asia Pacific, our next region here, and see how they finished up. Actually, quite a strong showing here as well. Li Shitian in the top 8, Park Jong-sung just outside in 9th place, and Jason Chung from New Zealand as well in 11th here.
Yeah, so Li Shitian from Team MTG Mint Card, playing the burn deck. Their version, of course, heavily metagamed against other burn decks with extra Lightning Helixes and Core Firewalkers in the sideboard, which we saw yesterday in the feature match area. Just fantastic performance there. This is his 3rd Pro Tour top 8 in 12-ish months. Am I correct on that?
53 weeks, 3 top 8s.
53 weeks. So you squeak things a little bit and do some careful rounding there. You get 3 Pro Tour top 8s in about a year.
4
yeah, looking down the list on the other side, I see in 20th, Yuki Ichikawa. He's the highest finishing Japanese player here, and another solid finish for Yuki.
Absolutely. You got to, I mean, hats off to him.
No kidding.
He's got like 6-7 Pro Tours played, the back-to-back top 8s from last season, and here he is in 20th. He looks like he's going to be around for a while.
I think he just might be the real deal and around for a long time. So congratulations to him. Why don't we take a look at Europe now? And you'll see, of course, our highest finishing European is Antonio del Mmoral Leon.
Yeah, getting ready to move into the finals. Blue-Red Splinter Twin just defeated Hall of Famer Jelger Wiegersma in the semifinals. He's got to be feeling good about himself. You know, a lot of confidence going in there, too. And a young guy, right? 20 years old?
Only 20 years old. And you see that the 2nd and 3rd seeds there just played each other. And Antonio, who finished 2nd in the Swiss after, you know, our 16 rounds, is looking to improve on that by 1 slot here as he heads into the finals. Looking down the list, now you see there's Pierre Dagen up there on 25th, so he made it in 25th there as well. And
there's a lot of new blood on this list.
There is. Yeah, I see a Martin Yuzo.
Right, Jelger and Martin have obviously both been around forever. Dejon had the good finish last year, but
I see Stepan Sucic up there. He pops up every once in a while.
And Roberto Esposito, one of the Italian players. We saw, I think there were 2 Italian players doing well throughout the tournament as I checked the standings. So definitely great shout out to them for excellent performance.
Okay. All right, guys. Let's set the stage here. We have got a finals coming up in mere moments here, but of course we want to give you a look at who's playing, what they're playing, and what these 2 gentlemen think about the matchup. So why don't we start off with Justin Cohen. This is his first Pro Tour, and he is in the finals. Coming into this event, Justin had a pro point. That's cash to GP.
Right, that's top 64-ish at a GP.
Yes, and that's 1 pro point total in his career. And now he finds himself in the finals. Now,
legit team though, right? You look at that team TBA. The team name was announced. In fact, it is Teamwork.
Teamwork.
And Bob Maher did a lot of organization to put a team together that was, you know, guys who didn't necessarily want to go to the city of the Pro Tour 2 weeks ahead of time. You maybe couldn't get off work or had, you know, family commitments or just preferred to test remotely. Sam Black actually left Pantheon in order to be part of that team for this Pro Tour. You know, might go back, but wanted to try this. And yeah, here's his housemate, drug along onto the team for the ride and gave the team the Amulet deck, talked Sam into playing it. Really cool story.
Yeah, super cool story. And Justin Cohen, an Amulet Bloom aficionado.
Yeah, from what I understand, the whole Amulet Bloom deck is sort of a local deck to the Madison, Wisconsin area. Matthias Hunt, another player, I believe from that region, who's known for playing this.
He played it at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, so
a year ago.
And Sam, of course, playing it in this tournament. So it's interesting how different regions can have their own like kind of unique decks and unique metagames here, and we saw that bubble up throughout the tournament here.
Yeah, now, do you guys consider this, so one thing that we saw at the last Pro Tour, and in fact the last 2 Modern Pro Tours, is that we had what we kind of considered modern specialists come in. Now, they've since branched out and had careers based off of their top 8s, but I think that, you know, going into that, we thought, oh, this guy knows Birthing Pod inside and out, and he's now ridden it to a Pro Tour top 8, even finishing ahead of established pros. Is that what you see here as well? Do you think that Justin Cohen is a specialist of sorts?
I actually thought the teams did better this time than they did in Valencia. Like for me, we talk about how it was the modern specialists and, you know, the Magic Online grinders were the ones who really got into that top 8.
Yeah.
Here it's like every team put somebody in. right? Pantheon put Jelger in, Teamwork put Justin in.
Channel Fireball had Ifro. Right?
Absolutely, and Mint Card had Li Shiqian. You basically had a lot of the top teams put sort of their one champion into this top 8. So I felt the teams actually did better here. It wasn't as much the Modern specialists.
Yeah, I think what we've seen as Modern has grown as a format and had some time to mature. Early on in Modern's history, I think there were a lot of sort of early adopters that really enjoyed the format, picked it up right away, found their own decks that they really liked and honed those to perfection. As we've had more Modern Pro Tours and Modern's existed for more years, we're seeing it permeate throughout the Magic community. We're seeing different players get experience with the format. And as that's happened, at this point, we're starting to see players who sort of are more well-rounded and have more general Magic experience getting more Modern-specific experience and starting to excel in the format as well.
Okay, let's take a look at the deck list for Justin Cohen. We've been talking about it, so we'll put it up on the screen so that for those of you that haven't seen it yet, you can give it a chance. Ian, maybe you can walk us, well, as briefly as you can through how this deck
tough
works?
to be brief with this deck because there's so much going on here. So essentially, this Amulet Bloom deck, we've seen it on camera a couple times. The core of the deck here is the mana generation enabled by Amulet of Vigor plus Summer Bloom. Amulet of Vigor, of course, making sure your lands that enter the battlefield tapped get to untap as a triggered ability. So you can tap your Ravnica bounce lands for 2 mana. Summer Bloom gives you additional land drops. And the dream draw is turn 1 Amulet of Vigor, turn 2 Summer Bloom, play your Ravnica bounce lands, generate 6 mana, and now you can play Primeval Titan as your ideal 6-drop. That lets you search for more lands, generate a lot of mana. We won't get into too many of the details, but there are a lot of combos in terms of the lands you can search up there. That's one option. The second sort of package in the deck there is the 6-drop Hive Mind, this enchantment that says whenever a player plays an instant or sorcery spell, the opponent gets a copy of that. You use that with a Pact card, which says it's free now, but during your next upkeep, you have to pay for it or else you lose the game. So Justin Cohen plays Hive Mind early in the game, plays something like a Summoner's Pact, passes the turn to his opponent. The opponent had gotten his own copy of Summoner's Pact, now can't pay for it and loses the game.
Right, so that's the summary. And you will see more of that, of course, down in the feature match area. Let's take a look at our other competitor here, Antonio de Mmoral Leon from Spain. This is his second Pro Tour.
Yeah, he's the veteran in this final, right?
He's not exactly a vet himself, but he has been to another Pro Tour. Of course, this is his best finish. It's his first top 8. His first was actually at PT Return to Ravnica, which was in Seattle, where he went 2-5. So we've got a 20-year-old here sitting down and finding himself in the finals of one of his first few Pro Tours. It's got to be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it's tough. Like I said, if he wants to win, he's going to have to be able to block that all out. I mean, it's a big match. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line. I think it's $20,000 difference between first and second, if memory serves. And the winner is auto platinum.
That's huge.
Gigantic. Now, I mean, the loser's doing all right. He's going to walk away with, I think it's 26 pro points and, in good shape to get to at least gold. But there's a big difference between getting to gold at the end of the season and being platinum instantly.
Right. Yeah, especially for younger players here who haven't been on the Pro Tour that many times so far. Platinum means an entire year worth of qualifying for the Pro Tour.
Right, and also
appearance fees.
And appearance fees,
all of it.
Sure, yeah.
So different take, but also a combo deck for Antonio. He's on Splinter Twin. Let's take a look at his deck list now. And Randy, why don't you walk us through, for people maybe that aren't quite as familiar with Twin, we did just see it on the stream, but maybe for those just joining us, what that deck actually does.
Yeah, the finals is combo versus combo. This combo, though, a little more streamlined. You need 2 cards to pull it off. Step 1 is to get a creature into play, either the Deceiver, Exarch, or the Pestermite, which has the ability that when it comes into play, you can tap or untap target permanent. Well, if you put Splinter Twin onto one of those creatures, you can have it make a copy of itself, then the copy will untap the original that was wearing the Splinter Twin, make another copy, untap the original, make another copy, untap the original. You wind up with an arbitrarily large number of token copies. They have haste, crunch, attack for a million, a billion, pick a number. Pretty good combo.
And that does it. Yeah, it's one of the most powerful two-card combos that we have.
It could be winning its second Modern Pro Tour. This is what won in Philadelphia for Samuel Estradi.
Right. Wow, that's interesting to track that as well. Ian, let's start talking about the matchup. 2 combo decks going against each other here.
Yeah.
Are we going to see what we call gold fishing, where one player is playing his hand, the other player is playing his hand, and they kind of look at each other every once in a while to go, am I dead yet? No, my turn then? Or are there going to be a lot of interaction here?
Yeah, so from Justin Cohen's perspective, he would like the game to play out like a goldfish. Again, this Amulet Bloom deck capable of very explosive draws if it gets the right cards as an opening hand. However, the Blue-Red Splinter Twin is more than capable of interaction. Now, the Splinter Twin deck, we've described it as sort of a combo control deck before. It's equipped with lots of main deck counterspells that it can use to disrupt the Amulet Bloom deck as it plays out. So I think what we're going to want to see is Justin wants the game to play out where he can explode with early mana in the early game. Hopefully, doesn't have to fight through too many counterspells, can get a Primeval Titan into play early or sneak a Hive Mind out and win the game that way. The Splinter Twin player is going to want to stall things out a little bit more, play a little bit more cautiously, hopefully have some counterspells, and as a last resort, can just go for the combo if he happens to assemble that.
Right, which that sometimes does just happen. Guys, it's time for the finals. Are you ready?
I'm
you
ready.
look ready. You look very
do it.
ready. All right, I know you're ready at home too. Let's head down to the feature match area for the finals here from Pro Tour Fate Reforged.